Hey y'all, it's Bethany here. Welcome back to my channel, Bethany Brings Books. Today I'm going to be doing my end of the month wrap up. I'm going to be talking about what I read in February. So I filmed a mid-month wrap up and I talked about the books that I read during the first part of the month. I will try to remember. I always forget to do this. I'll try to remember to put a link in the box, but I did film a wrap up talking about what I read earlier this month, which was Little Women. I read Little Women, The Blooms That Broke Us by Ashley Deal, and I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916, I believe, is the three books that I read. So I have that wrap up video where I talked about those, and I go on for quite a while because Little Women was a 5-star read. The Blooms That Broke Us by Ashley Deal was another 5-star read. I have gushed over that. I've talked about it a lot on my Instagram. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about those here again because I've already talked about them a lot on my other video. So I read 3 books the first of the month, and then this second half of the month I also read 3 books. So that's 6 books in total for this month, y'all, which is good because last month I only read 3 books. Now I'm up to 6, so maybe we're just going to keep climbing. But I finished 6. I've read quite a bit in a lot of other books, so we'll talk about those. We'll talk about what I've finished, what I've been reading, what I'm hoping to continue reading. Tomorrow is actually the last day of the month. Today is February 28th, so I decided to just go ahead and film this today because I know that I'm not going to finish anything else before the end of the month. So I thought I would just go ahead and then I'll just talk about what I'm still reading and hoping to finish up in the next few days. So let's get started, guys. All right, first we're going to talk about this North and South, y'all. North and South. I finished it and I have so many thoughts. I just loved it. I really, really loved it. I was a bit afraid going into it that it was not going to be as good as the period, because I have watched the period drama several times, so I was worried that it wasn't going to hold up, like, because I had seen the period drama first, that the book wasn't going to hold up in comparison in my mind. But I have to say, it really did. It was amazing. It was beautiful. And I've heard a couple people say that they thought there were some aspects of the period drama they liked a little bit better. And I would definitely agree that there are a couple things in the period drama, like the BBC miniseries, that I like that were not in the book. But overall, I feel like the period drama definitely captures the whole of the book and was really well done, like really well done. I don't think I could say either one is better than the other because I like them both equally. But so we follow in here Martha Hale, who she, I think this is set like in the 1860s maybe, or 50s. But she lives in England in a town in the south of England. And just the descriptions of the town, it seems very lush and beautiful. And her father is a pastor or a clergyman, and he has begun to have issues with the Church of England. And so he leaves his post as a clergyman and moves his family to northern England to a mill town. A manufacturing town, and so it's completely different, and we see that culture shock for Martha for Margaret, and you see that culture shock, and as she's adapting, and you know, it's definitely got a lot of like, it deals with a lot of like, kind of like a clash between the class systems and cultural differences between even just, you know, those cultural differences within the same country, but very different cultures in a manufacturing town versus a small rural English village. And both of the cultures kind of look down their noses at each other, and they're haughty. And so we see Elizabeth. Why do I keep saying Elizabeth? I think it's because it's by Elizabeth Gaskell. We see Margaret as she lives there, and she's introduced to Mr. Thornton, who is the owner of one of the mills in the town. And there's a lot of discussion throughout the book about strikes and the working class, their fight for better pay, and just a lot of conversation in between about the masters and the union and the mill workers and all of that. And so there were times that could get a little bit long-winded. There was like a few times where they would go on for like a few pages or several long paragraphs talking about that, and that could get a little bit long-winded at times. But once I got into it, it took a few chapters to really get into it, but once I got into it, I was really swept away. I just was caught up in wanting to see what was going to happen next. And I don't know whether that is because I had watched the movie and so I knew kind of what was going to happen, so I was eagerly trying to keep reading to like read it and see how it's described in the book. I don't know. So I don't really know. I keep thinking about, did me watching the show first, what kind of impact it had on my love for the book, because I loved the book so much, and I wonder would I have loved it as much if I hadn't watched the period drama first. I don't know, but I have to say I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I cannot wait to read more about Elizabeth Gaskell. And Mr. Thornton is so swoony, y'all. Like him and Margaret are at odds with each other to start with, because they are very different from very different social and cultural backgrounds. But he is just, I have to say, he is just swoony. I said on my Instagram that Elizabeth Gaskell was writing like the best swoony male character years before these modern authors wrote them. I just love it. It's going on my favorites of all time. I will say that towards the end of the book, it started to drag a little bit for me. Like I was like, okay, I felt like some of it could have been wrapped up a little bit quicker. Like there were some parts that just kept going on, and I was like, okay, let's get to the end. The very last few chapters for me, they dragged on a bit, but overall, like I said, it was 5 stars. I really, really, really loved it, and it was an amazing book, and I'm really looking forward to reading more by Elizabeth Gaskell. And then the next book that I finished is Little House in the Big Woods by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I have been reading this with my kids, and I read this as a child, and I liked it then, and I loved it again this time. It's just, the Little House series has such a cozy feeling of nostalgia, and I don't know what it was, but Laura Ingalls just wrote in a way that it made me, this series is probably really what made me just become fascinated with like history and historical things like quilting, and I just loved reading about how she would make her own, that her parents would make their own butter, and how she would just go into all the descriptions of putting away food for the winter and growing their garden and all these different things that they did. And I think that's really what got me into like history and loving that aspect of history, and just learning about the way people did things back then. And anyway, my kids also really loved this. They would ask me to read it at night, so I felt like, yay, that was such a accomplishment that they're asking me to read this. So we've gone ahead and started Farmer Boy. We're reading that now. I had actually already started it, and then when we finished this, the kids were like, we've got to start the next one. And so I said, okay, I'll just start Farmer Boy over. So yeah, I love this so much, and I would highly recommend this series. Like, if you have never read the series, read it. It's just so good. I love it so much. I love it. It's perfectly cozy and fun and nostalgic, and I love it. And then the third book that I finished is a book that I finished on my Kindle app on my phone. And it is called, I believe it's called The One with a Kiss Cam by Cindy Steele, I believe is what it's called. I'll put it up here on the screen, but I think it's called The One with the Kiss Cam by Cindy Steele. And it's a rom-com, clean fiction. It's not Christian fiction, it's clean fiction. And this was just so cute, y'all. I have started trying to keep a book going on my phone app, on my Kindle app, because I found it helps me to read more, especially if I'm, I think I talked about this, but if I'm somewhere where I can pick up my phone and read a little bit instead of scrolling, or read a little bit while I'm waiting in line, or sitting somewhere, or even like at night after I've read to the kids and gotten them tucked in, sometimes I'll just open my app on my phone and read on that while they're falling asleep. I saw this on Kindle Unlimited, and I had seen a few people talk about it, how they really liked it and it was cute. And so I saw it, and the premise sounded cute, so I started reading it on my Kindle, and it was actually a quick read, very easy read, and it was adorable. Like, I really want to read more by this author. It was my first by her. But it follows Nora. It opens up and she's on a blind date with, or not a blind date. She's on a first date with someone she met on like an online dating app. And it's not going too great. She's at a ball game and he's very, what's the word? I don't know, just kind of crude, and just the date isn't going well. She's like ready to be out of the date and leave the guy alone and not talk to him again. And while the guy is up going and like doing something, going to get food or the bathroom or something, the kiss cam on the Jumbotron, the kiss cam shows up on her, and there's a guy sitting beside her, and he's like there with a couple of his friends. And anyway, they end up sharing a kiss. They end up hanging out the rest of the night and doing like a lot of fun stuff together. Like, already telling them like, no, like, I'm about to move out of state for a while. She's gonna move to go take care of her grandmother, and so, you know, they're obviously not gonna see each other anymore after that night. And so anyway, they have this fun, and it's just cute. His name is Duke, and he is so funny, and like, I love the banter between him and his two friends, and between them two, just the way he flirts. It's so cute and funny. And skips ahead, like all of that happens, skips ahead several years. And this happens like within the first couple chapters, so I don't want to be spoilery, but yeah, it skips ahead a few years, and Nora and Duke end up meeting back up. And it's just, I don't know, it's just really cute. It's Nora. I like Nora and how she's just determined to, she's very determined and focused on getting her life together and working hard. She's been like working to go to college and pay her way through college, and she wants to be in graphic design, and she's just very determined to do that. And she's had to kind of take up the slack for her mom and her siblings. That's kind of like part of her backstory, is her mom has always kind of borrowed money from her and bummed off of her a little bit, and so she's trying to figure out how to stand up and not be an enabler, be through college and get a steady job before she's in a relationship. But then her and Duke meet back up, and things happen with her school and her career and his career, and it's just, I don't want to give too much away, but it's just so cute, like the way they come together. It's just adorable. I loved the banter in it. I loved the flirting, and also later on we see Duke's grandparents, and they are the cutest. Oh my goodness, they are adorable. Like, the whole section where they are visiting with them is adorable. It's just so cute. I loved it. And like, I'm finding lately, I've read a few books that have like these older characters in it, and they give wisdom to the younger characters, and I'm just really liking that. And that was in this book, and it was just adorable. I loved it so much. It was so cute. They are precious. So I highly recommend this one. It has very, very mild language. Like, I would say maybe 5 or less instances of a very mild language. And then it's clean. There's nothing inappropriate that I recall. I felt like the romance parts, the kisses and stuff like that were pretty light. So overall, it felt that way to me. So it was just really cute, and I definitely would love to read more by this author. So that's the 3 that I finished. I have also been reading through some other books. I have been reading Hercule Poirot's Christmas by Agatha Christie. This one I started back at Christmas time, and I laid it down for a while, and I finally picked it back up, and I'm about, not quite halfway. I'm like, I've read that much. So reading that one, I'm enjoying it. It's not captivating me as much as some of the other ones that I've read by Agatha Christie, but I'm trying to finish it because I do want to move on to more of hers. Yeah, we're following Poirot as he's investigating a murder at this family event, this family that had gathered over the holidays. Someone in the family is murdered, and he is investigating it, and so it's your typical Agatha Christie story with all of the characters, and you're figuring out who's who and who has motive and who was where and all of the stuff. So yeah, I'm reading that one. Hopefully I'll finish that one in the next week or so. Also, I am reading A Portrait of Emily Price by Catherine Ray. This was my pick for February for Oshina's Christian Romance challenge that she's doing this year. The prompt was to read a new to you author, and I've not read anything by Catherine Ray. I had this on my shelf, and I have a few of her other books, and I was like, I need to go ahead and read one and see how I like them. So this is cute so far. I'm enjoying it. I've read that much. I'm on page 82, and I like her writing style. I feel like she writes very well. It's good, and I'm enjoying it, and it's cute, and there's aspects to it that I like, but it's not like enthralled me or anything like that, if that makes sense. It's not just grab me and like I can't put it down. It's not that type of book, but it is good, and I am so far enjoying what I'm reading. I like some of the aspects of what's going on here. We see Emily. She is a insurance restorer, so she has traveled to Atlanta, Georgia to do some restoration work on a home that was burned in a fire, and she's doing like some restoration work to some of the valuables in the home, some of the walls and stuff in the home. And while she's there, she is renting a small space in this like studio where other people do restoration work as well. And she ends up meeting the guy who owns the studio. She ends up meeting his brother, who is Italian, and he is down from Italy for like, he's over in America from Italy for a while, working at a restaurant, their family restaurant. And immediately him and Emily hit it off and sparks fly, and we just see aspects of like the Italian culture. We're seeing her talk about her job, which is very interesting to me. Like, I am fascinated by it, just the way she's restoring things, and she's also very into art. And we see like, I was looking today, they were talking about some different artists, and I was looking up some of the stuff they were talking about, and it was just interesting, like expanding my knowledge. So that's cute. And I already know that her and Ben are going to get married like pretty quick, Emily and Ben, because it's on the back of the book. So I know it's one of those stories where they like meet and after just a few weeks they get married. And I haven't got to that part yet, but I know it's on the back. She's going to get married and go to Italy, and it's different, but I kind of like it. I'm interested to see where it's going to go, because I know they're going to get married, and then for a large portion of the book we're going to be in Italy, and it's just it's interesting. I'm interested to see where it goes. So, and I don't have a big problem with that, because I know sometimes that does happen. Like, I know people that have gotten married after just a few weeks or a few months, and it's not super common, but it happens sometimes. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I'm also reading this Answers to Your Kids' Questions by Chuck Colson. I am not super far into it. I'm reading it slowly. Like, I've read that much, but I actually really am liking this. Each chapter covers a specific like category or theme, and in each chapter he poses questions that your teenager might ask you, or someone who is, you know, questioning their worldview, or someone who wants answers about their worldview might ask. And then he asks the question, and then underneath it, he'll give an answer. And so I'm just finding it really fascinating, just some of the way he's explaining things about different things, like, did God create evil? Why is there evil in the world? Why doesn't God end suffering? Stuff like that, those type of questions. And I'm finding it really interesting. It's definitely a bit above where my kids are as far as, you know, what kind of questions they would be asking. But I would recommend it for anyone, not just people who have kids, because even just like, you know, if you're involved in ministry, youth leadership, or if you just have people who are asking you questions about these things, it's good to know, like, to be able to give an explanation of what you believe and why you believe. And I'm enjoying it. Like, I'm really enjoying it. I've already highlighted quite a bit, and so I'm gonna keep slowly reading this. And one more book that I have been reading, I don't know if I'll finish this, but I have started it, is The Grieving Brain, The Surprising Science of How We Learn from Love and Loss. This is by Mary Frances O'Connor, and this is a nonfiction book, obviously, and it talks about our brain and what we go through when we grieve and when we go through loss. And I really haven't read much. I've read like one chapter, I think. I haven't even read the first chapter. I've read that, which was like the preface to it. So yeah, but I thought it would be interesting, so I'm working on that. It's a library book. But yeah, that's what I've been reading, and so there we have it. I'm going to do another video talking about what I hope to pick up next, what I'm hoping to read next in March, what I'm hoping to pick up in the next few weeks, and probably will be trying to read a lot of middle grade stuff in March. But yeah, anyway, that's what I'll share that with y'all in another video. So anyway, guys, I hope y'all read some great things this month. I would love to know what you read. What was your favorite book that you read this month? I would have to say mine for the second half of the month was definitely North and South. The first half, it's hard. It's like, I can't decide. I love Little Women and The Blooms That Broke Us and North and South. Those were my three favorites of the month, and honestly, they're like all tied for my favorites. Like, I loved all of them. So there you have it, guys. Thank y'all for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.